Al Capone was one of the most infamous crime figures in American history, often regarded as the symbol of organized crime during the Prohibition era. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1899 to Italian immigrant parents, Capone began his criminal career in small street gangs before moving to Chicago, where he rose rapidly through the ranks under the mentorship of Johnny Torrio. When Torrio retired, Capone assumed control of the Chicago outfit, a powerful criminal organization that dominated illegal alcohol distribution, gambling, and prostitution throughout the 1920s. Operating during a time when the sale of alcohol was banned, Capone built a vast underground empire that reportedly earned tens of millions of dollars annually. His influence extended deeply into politics and law enforcement, ensuring protection for his operations through bribery and intimidation. Despite his violent reputation, Capone maintained a public image as a generous and charming figure, often donating to charities and helping the poor. However, his reign was marked by brutal gang wars, most notoriously the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. His downfall came not through violence but through the U.S. government's persistent pursuit of his financial crimes. Convicted of tax evasion in 1931, Capone was sentenced to prison, ending his reign as Chicago's underworld kingpin. Pablo Escobar was one of the most powerful and feared drug lords in modern history, known for building the Medellin cartel into a global narcotics empire. Born in Rio Negro, Colombia, in 1949 and raised in Medellin, Escobar began his criminal career with petty smuggling and car theft before turning to cocaine trafficking in the 1970s. As global demand for the drug skyrocketed, Escobar capitalized on the opportunity, establishing a network that controlled the vast majority of cocaine entering the United States. His immense wealth made him one of the richest men in the world, earning billions of dollars annually. Escobar used his fortune to gain political influence, funding housing projects and community programs for the poor, which earned him a Robin Hood-like reputation among locals. However, his empire was built on extreme violence and corruption. Escobar ordered the assassination of judges, journalists, and politicians who opposed him, and his cartel's operations fueled an era of terror across Colombia. The government, backed by the United States, launched a massive manhunt that lasted years. In 1993, Escobar was killed by Colombian forces after a rooftop chase in Medellin. Though his death marked the collapse of the Medellin cartel, his legacy continues to shape Colombia's history and global perceptions of organized crime. John Gotti was one of the most recognizable figures in American organized crime, earning the nickname the Dapper Don for his stylish appearance and confident demeanor. Born in 1940 in the Bronx, New York, Gotti grew up in poverty and gravitated toward street gangs at a young age. By his 20s, he was working under the Gambino crime family, one of New York's most powerful mafia organizations. His rise within the family was rapid and ruthless, marked by strategic violence and ambition. In 1985, Gotti orchestrated the assassination of Paul Castellano, the Gambino boss at the time, seizing control of the organization for himself. Under his leadership, the Gambino family became the most dominant mafia family in the United States, controlling racketeering, loan sharking, illegal gambling, and other criminal enterprises. Gotti's bold personality and repeated acquittals in court earned him another nickname, the Teflon Don, as no charges seemed to stick. However, his growing public profile and disdain for secrecy attracted unwanted attention from law enforcement. In 1992, after years of investigation, Gotti was convicted of murder and racketeering, largely due to testimony from his underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano. He was sentenced to life in prison where he remained until his death in 2002, marking the end of an era for the traditional American mafia. Lucky Luciano is often credited as the architect of modern organized crime in the United States. Born Salvatore Lucania in 1897 in Sicily, Italy, he immigrated to New York City with his family as a child. Growing up in the tough neighborhoods of the Lower East Side, Luciano became involved in petty crime before joining the ranks of larger criminal organizations during the Prohibition era. By the late 1920s, he had forged alliances with other rising mobsters, including Meyer Lansky and Frank Costello, and played a crucial role in ending violent turf wars among rival gangs. In 1931, after orchestrating the downfall of powerful mob boss Joe Masseria, Luciano restructured organized crime into a more efficient business-like system. He established the Commission, a governing body that allowed crime families across the nation to cooperate and resolve disputes without bloodshed. This innovation effectively transformed organized crime from chaotic street violence into a disciplined and profitable enterprise. However, Luciano's reign was cut short when he was convicted of compulsory prostitution in 1936 and sentenced to prison. During World War II, he secretly assisted U.S. naval intelligence and was later deported to Italy. Despite his exile, Luciano remained an influential figure until his death in 1962, his legacy enduring as the founding father of the American Mafia's structure and operations. Whitey Bulger was one of America's most notorious crime bosses, known for his ruthless control over Boston's criminal underworld and his surprising ties to law enforcement. Born James Joseph Bulger in 1929 in Dorchester, Massachusetts, he grew up in a tough South Boston neighborhood and became involved in crime from an early age. After spending time in prison for armed robbery, Bulger returned to Boston in the 1950s and gradually rose through the ranks of the Winter Hill Gang, a powerful Irish-American crime group. By the 1970s and 1980s, he controlled much of Boston's organized crime, engaging in extortion, drug trafficking, and loan sharking. What set Bulger apart was his secret relationship with the FBI. He served as an informant, providing intelligence on rival gangs while using that protection to eliminate his enemies and expand his empire. This alliance shielded him from prosecution for years, even as his crimes multiplied. In 1994, after a federal indictment was unsealed, Bulger fled Boston and evaded capture for more than 16 years, becoming one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. He was finally arrested in California in 2011 and later convicted of multiple murders and racketeering charges. In 2018, at age 89, Bulger was murdered in prison, ending one of the most shocking and controversial criminal careers in U.S. history. El Chapo, whose real name is Joaquin Archivaldo Guzman Loera, rose from humble beginnings in rural Mexico to become one of the most powerful and feared drug lords in the world. Born in 1957 in the small village of La Tuna, Sinaloa, he grew up in poverty and began working in the drug trade as a teenager. By the late 1980s, Guzman had become a key figure in the Sinaloa cartel, which would go on to dominate global drug trafficking for decades. Known for his ruthless efficiency and strategic cunning, El Chapo oversaw the transport of massive quantities of cocaine, marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine into the United States, earning billions of dollars and building a vast criminal empire. His operations were supported by extensive corruption within Mexico's political and law enforcement systems, as well as by an elaborate network of tunnels used for smuggling. El Chapo became infamous for his dramatic prison escapes, once through a hidden tunnel in 2001, and again in 2015 through a mile-long underground passage from his cell. However, his freedom did not last. He was recaptured in 2016 and extradited to the United States the following year. In 2019, Guzman was convicted on multiple charges, including drug trafficking and organized crime, and sentenced to life imprisonment, marking the end of an era for Mexico's most notorious cartel leader. Frank Costello was one of the most influential and sophisticated figures in the history of organized crime, earning the nickname the Prime Minister of the Underworld for his ability to blend criminal enterprise with political power. Born Francesco Castiglia in 1891 in Calabria, Italy, he immigrated to New York City as a child and quickly became involved in street gangs. During Prohibition, Costello's partnership with Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky propelled him into the upper ranks of organized crime, where he focused on building stable, long-term rackets rather than engaging in open violence. As the leader of the Luciano crime family, later known as the Genovese family, Costello emphasized political influence, bribing politicians and police officials to protect his operations. His approach brought him immense wealth and respect among mob circles, as he preferred diplomacy and business acumen over bloodshed. However, his reign faced constant challenges, particularly from rival mobsters seeking more aggressive leadership. In 1957, an assassination attempt ordered by Vito Genovese left him wounded but alive, prompting his gradual retirement from active crime. Costello spent his later years living quietly, maintaining his reputation as one of the mafia's most intelligent and pragmatic leaders. He died of a heart attack in 1973, leaving behind a legacy that bridged the worlds of organized crime and legitimate political influence.